The open world formula evolves over time, with every new smash hit adding their own contributions. After all, you don't innovate by copying what everyone else is doing. In this list, we count down the best games with big maps that kept us adventuring this year. I'm Si for WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 best open world video games of 2022. Number 10. Forza Horizon 5. Racing games and driving sims might not be in everyone's wheelhouse, but it's not controversial to say that the genre tends to be at the cusp of realistic graphics. Whilst the game originally released at the back end of 2021, Forza Horizon 5 has continued to impress and hold dominance over the genre this year with its updates, the latest of which adds ray tracing, as if it needed to be any prettier. With a map that is 50% larger than the last game, there's a lot to see as you barrel around the fictionalized version of Mexico in all of its high-res glory. The weather system is a particular highlight, creating tension and abject joy as you slide from road to dirt path in the middle of a storm. Horizon 5 has an interesting take on the progression system, throwing rally cars and high-powered supercars at the player from the get-go, rather than the standard fare of hatchbacks and Ford Focuses, because at the end of the day, if you're going to sell a player on your game in the first 15 minutes, give them a very fast toy to zip around your Mayan temples and watch them fill with glee instantly. It's hardly going to emotionally enrapture you with a great story, but it's impossible to deny how good Forza Horizon 5 feels to play. Number 9. Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. With 2 mainline releases, it's certainly been an interesting year for Pokémon. Big conversations definitely need to be had about Game Freak's quality assurance, but after years of people fantasizing about Pokémon venturing into the open world, it's not surprising that Scarlet and Violet was the most successful launch in Nintendo history. Legends Arceus was an intriguing hors d'oeuvre, but the main course was the 8th generation of games, which emphasized player choice first and foremost. Trainers are encouraged to explore the region of Paldea however they see fit, with 3 story strands that can be completed in any order. This is the drive to move forward, but the real joy comes from, as expected, the mystery of what Pokémon, both new and familiar, you might encounter around every turn as you explore swamps, plains, canyons and mountains. It's certainly not the prettiest game, and for some was marred with technical issues. That being said, these were not secrets in the pre-release material and clearly do not matter to the vast majority of Pokémon fans who took to the games like a quack sleet of water. After the series had hit a brick wall of linearity and hand-holding, having a full island of biomes to explore and plunder for pocket monsters is indisputable fun. Number 8. Gotham Knights. A spiritual successor to the wonderful Batman Arkham series, Gotham Knights was going to struggle to move outside of the bat-shaped shadow of such a beloved franchise, whatever it did. Still, allowing players to don the masks of 4 different heroes and explore more of Gotham than ever before was at least worth getting excited about. Some of the coolest moments of Gotham Knights come from the emergent combat situations, flying into crimes and striking down the ne'er-do-wells that are in the process of a heist or whatever else. What's interesting is that these events play out independently of your action. When you choose to strike is crucial, as you can leave it too late and the freaks will get away. On the flip side, if you stop a crime and return later, the world doesn't just move on, you'll see Gotham News Network reporting on the events. It's really cool to have an impact on the world in this way, but ultimately Gotham Knights' reliance on loot boxes and a lack of variety in its side content means that the excitement sort of peters off. Still, that doesn't mean you can't have fun flying around Gotham doing hero things for a little while. Number 7. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Open world and JRPG are not exactly 2 terms that have been bedfellows for a long time. Japanese role-playing games have largely resisted the urge of a massive world in favour of a more curated series of locations that serve their narrative. But if there's one series that's flying the flag for it, then it's certainly Xenoblade Chronicles. These large-scale explorative maps have been part of the franchise's identity since the first game, and every title since has just improved exponentially upon the state of the last. Now at the point of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Monolith Soft have hit their stride. There are a lot of places to visit, lots of great monsters to fight, and the class system and larger party setup invites a lot of experimentation that makes the game hard to put down. Best of all, the map isn't just a series of locations dotted with towns. Because the events of the story can have major impacts on civilizations that you've discovered, it's always interesting to return to them and see what's new, creating a more interconnected world. More than that, Xenoblade 3 is frankly beautiful. Whilst the Switch is clearly the most underpowered system on the market, Monolith Soft have found a way to create wonder with scale and with spectacularly designed biomes that keep players addicted to exploring further. Number 6. Grounded. Slipping somewhat under the radar this year because it's been in early access since 2020, Grounded finally had its full release in 2022. Shrinking players down to half the size of an ant, Grounded takes place in the player's literal backyard as they do what they can to survive a world that they have no place in. Of course, the game certainly gets points for novelty, and there's lots of cool twists on the survival genre using the premise. Hunger and thirst are satiated with water droplets and bug meat, and players defend themselves by crafting weapons out of sticks and rocks. More than that though, Grounded has a very interesting ecosystem that the player becomes a part of the more they play. Of course, apex predators like spiders will attack on sight and should be avoided, but other insects can be harvested, lead players to resources, and have some pretty interesting AI depending on player action. Obsidian Entertainment's wealth of experience gives Grounded a wonderful sense of charm and, all jokes aside, a unique sense of scale about its open world and its inhabitants. For a genre littered with large-scale maps, towers, and often gargantuan enemies, Grounded goes the other way completely with a small personal affair and is all the better for it. Number 5. Sonic Frontiers. Pokémon coming to the open world seemed like an inevitable conclusion, and whilst last year's Halo Infinite was a surprise in some ways, it made a lot of sense. For Sonic the Hedgehog, known primarily for going right in 2D or forwards in 3D very fast, it was a head-scratcher. Then again, Sonic Team's philosophy seems to be try anything once. Wearing its influences very clearly on its sleeve, Sonic Frontiers takes the serenity of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule and uses it as part of its own strange alien world. There's a real sense of unknown in Frontiers map, whilst the architecture, floating platforms, and rails clearly are there to necessitate gameplay, they certainly add to the mood. The best thing about Sonic Frontiers is the freedom, the ability to go fast to your heart's content, and perhaps even more importantly, to tailor that speed to your own comfort in the options by tweaking Sonic's acceleration and top speed. What appeared to be a rather plain and empty open world at first makes a lot of sense when you're moving at great speed, flying from one sandbox of platforms to another. Additionally, the tweak to Sonic's controls make combat on the go strangely gratifying. For a character that's all about momentum, to finally have the ability to attack on the move is a revelation. Number 4. Tunic. The definition of open world is a little bit vague. Some may picture the bustling city of Grand Theft Auto 5, others may visualise Ezio Auditore climbing a tower to a vantage point, and the older guard still might picture Link travelling through Hyrule for the very first time. As a throwback to retro adventure titles, Tunic hits all the right marks. The world is beautiful and inviting in its mystery, especially as the game has no dialogue or even legible written text. In fact, that's a large part of the story. The importance of discovery lies at the heart of Tunic's mission statement, and understanding the world is only possible through exploration. It also, like old school games of the genre, is tough as nails. Our heroic Fox avatar might be all kinds of cute, but he surely is some kind of badass to overcome the challenges he faces. Clever environmental puzzles and no-nonsense boss fights dot the land as you gather up pages of your instruction manual, hoping to understand more of the world's secrets. This world, when it isn't trying to kill you, and heck, even when it is dripping with undeniable heartwarming charm that is consistently great. Whether it's inside the game's dungeons or unfolding around you as you explore the overworld, the mysteries of Tunic are a joy to solve. Number 3. Dying Light 2. Stay Human. One of the most important things when it comes to large-scale maps is making sure it's fun to get around them, and this is where Dying Light 2 excels. Techland programmed in about 3,000 different parkour animations for players getting around at some speed, and the grappling hook and paraglider make moving around the zombie-infested city of Haran one of its most Moorish aspects. Whilst the first game was already fluid, Dying Light 2 is smooth like silk, especially as the game requires you to spend a lot of time in the air between rooftops. The floor of the city teems with zombies at night and bandits by day. Within buildings, your zombie infection meter rises fast, and sprinting between points of UV light to stave off your infection keeps the game moving at a great pace. Dying Light 2's biggest fault is that it was released as a bit of a mess of bugs at launch, which broke up the game's enjoyment rather strongly. Thankfully, these have been patched out to leave only the good parts: zombie killing, rooftop running, and quick decision making. What lets Dying Light claw out of its grave to the higher end of this list is its co-op, which allows 4 players to easily drop in and out of the city together and do all of the above as part of an elite zombie slaying crew. Number 2. Elden Ring. One of the most anticipated games in recent memory, there was a lot of goodwill riding on Elden Ring to be a success. Taking the From Software formula into a more expansive direction diluted the precision of previous games, or in fact overwhelmed new players. Elden Ring is not a survival horror game by any measure, but it does elicit the same feelings of I love this, but I also don't want to be here. The lands between are a gorgeous place with a prevailing atmosphere of oppression and danger that persists throughout. Every new area summons feelings of intrigue as well as a fear of the unknown, known as your doom could be lurking around any corner. The most important thing the game does, however, is do away with some expected parts of the open world blueprint. A lack of a quest log sounds worrisome at first, but instead helps players craft their own Elden Ring journey. Without a checklist of quests to do, exploration takes a more prominent seat, which is great because the lands between is huge and crammed with secrets. Moreover, it allows the player to determine what's important to their own adventure, once they stop dying to the fire giants, that is. Number 1. Horizon Forbidden West. If photo mode wasn't a standardised feature in most games these days, then Horizon would have to popularise it, as both games' worlds are like walking through the most amazing postcards. From the gorgeous leaf-strewn autumnal vibes of Forbidden West's tutorial area out into the wider world, it's pretty impossible not to play through the game and not gape at the majesty of it, especially as it runs flawlessly with no loading screens. To create a world taken back by nature 1,000 years in the future and populated by animal-shaped machines sounds like high fantasy, but it's possible that there is no more believable world in gaming. Horizon's attention to detail in every one of its vistas is astounding, and the communities that exist within it are believable. Forests that hide puzzles to complete, beaches where new machines make their homes, frozen cliffsides that can now be climbed with much greater finesse, and painfully detailed cities. That Guerrilla Games was able to go from a studio known for making good, but ultimately dull gunmetal grey military shooters, to crafting some of the best open worlds known in gaming is no small feat. Horizon Zero Dawn was a massive success that Forbidden West only builds on to create another memorable open world and one of the most visually stunning experiences in 2022. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Which of these open worlds that we mentioned is your favourite, and of course let us know of any others that we missed. I'd love to read your top 10s. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've been Cy for WhatCulture, and have a good week.